Imagine a teenager walking into a courtroom, baggy hoodie, sneakers, no lawyer in sight. The judge rolls his eyes, the crowd chuckles, till the teen opens his mouth and tears the prosecution apart with legal brilliance. But what no one knew was that this so-called kid wasn't just defending himself. He was the youngest undercover genius attorney in the country, sent in for a mission that would shake the justice system. Subscribe now for more shocking courtroom transformations and twist-filled justice stories that'll leave your jaw on the floor. They said he was just a punk kid, another statistic. Another troubled teen wasting the court's time, but 17-year-old Andre Carter didn't flinch when the judge smirked at him from the bench and the bailiff whispered, "No lawyer," as he entered courtroom 7B, alone in jeans and a hoodie, clutching a backpack covered in Sharpie doodles. The courtroom was packed that morning, buzzing with the petty trials of the day: theft, vandalism, truancy. But when Andre stepped forward to face charges for hacking into the city's education server, a felony the DA took personally, everyone assumed it was an open and-shut case. Judge Holloway, an old-school silver-haired man who didn't care for what he called TikTok law degrees, glanced at the file with annoyance. "Where's your attorney, Mr. Carter?" he drawled, not hiding his disdain. "Did he get lost at recess?" The room snickered. Andre didn't blink. "I'll be representing myself, Your Honor," he said calmly. "Of course you will," Holloway muttered, already preparing the guilty verdict in his mind. But as the prosecutor began her smug opening statement, something shifted. Andre's eyes locked onto every word, his fingers tapping the desk with precise rhythm, memorizing patterns, preparing rebuttals, waiting. The doll laughed through her presentation, showcasing screenshots and surveillance footage, claiming Andre had intentionally caused a system-wide crash that disrupted testing schedules. But when Andre stood up to cross-examine the school district's tech director, his first words silenced the room. "Mr. Jacobs," he began, "can you confirm whether the security firewall used by your department was updated after the June 11th breach warning from NetShield?" The tech director blinked. No, I don't recall." Andre pulled out a printed stack of emails. "This is the ignored alert," he said, showing the court. "You received it, signed it, and dismissed it, meaning the system was vulnerable before I ever touched it. Your incompetence caused the breach, not me." The room fell quiet. Even Judge Holloway paused. For the next 3 hours, Andre transformed. His words were sharp, legal, surgical. He referenced codes, precedent, Supreme Court rulings. He dismantled the prosecution point by point. By the time lunch break hit, the DA was sweating and flipping through her notes, clearly thrown off. "Where did you learn all this?" she muttered during recess. Andre just smiled. "Books. Lots of them." But the truth was deeper than anyone knew. Because Andre wasn't just some gifted teen. He was a prodigy, trained under a secret mentorship program designed to infiltrate and test the ethics of the justice system. His IQ, 182. His mentor, Elijah Cross, a legendary defense attorney disbarred for exposing judicial corruption. Elijah had trained Andre in secret since age 12, not for fame, but for a mission to shine a light on the rot inside the system and expose corruption that had put hundreds of innocent kids behind bars for minor tech-related offenses. And now, this case was his stage. Back in court, Andre dropped the bombshell. "Your Honor," he said mid-trial, "I move to dismiss this case based on evidence that the district not only failed to protect student data, but also scapegoated me to avoid a federal audit that would expose illegal grading practices and racial profiling." Judge Holloway raised an eyebrow. "That's quite the accusation, son." "Not an accusation," Andre replied, pulling a flash drive from his hoodie pocket. "Evidence." What followed was an explosion. Andre played encrypted audio from a private board meeting secretly recorded months ago. In it, The school board's top members discussed pinning the breach on a tech-savvy black student to avoid scrutiny. The courtroom gasped. Holloway's face paled. The prosecutor looked like she might faint. A firestorm erupted outside the courthouse. Reporters swarmed. Protesters gathered. Within 48 hours, the school district superintendent resigned. The DA's office launched an internal investigation, and Judge Holloway requested a recess to reassess the integrity of the bench. But the biggest twist was still to come. On day 3 of the trial, Andre walked in not in a hoodie, but in a pressed suit, still no lawyer, but this time with a badge. He approached the bench, placed a confidential folder in front of the judge, and said, "By federal order, this court is now under review. I am operating under authority granted by the DOJ's Juvenile Justice Reform Unit." Silence, then chaos. Holloway stammered, "This is absurd. He's a child." But a woman in a navy blazer entered behind Andre. Agent Laura Baines, lead investigator for internal court corruption. "Not a child," she corrected. "A certified field agent operating under experimental clearance protocol. Your Honor, please step down." The courtroom erupted. Cameras flashed. Bailiffs froze. Andre stood, unfazed. The mission wasn't just to win his case, it was to trigger a system-wide purge of corruption from the inside. And he had done it. But there was still fallout. In Chapter 2, we flash back to how Andre was recruited at just 11 years old when he was caught hacking into the IRS for fun. And instead of jail, he was quietly offered a deal train as an undercover operative for judicial ethics. Reform, his father, a war vet turned janitor, had taught him discipline and secrecy. His mother, a librarian, filled his world with legal thrillers and law textbooks. By 13, he was passing the LSAT unofficially. By 15, he was sitting in on real trials under fake names. Now 17. This was his first solo, "I'm the most dangerous." Because the judge he just exposed wasn't just corrupt, he was connected to a private juvenile detention firm profiting off wrongly jailed teens. Chapter 3 revealed the darker side. Holloway's brother-in-law ran Juvenile Systems, Inc., which made millions off minor tech offenders sentenced to long juvenile terms. Andre's case was meant to be the example, a warning to other bright kids of color not to step out of line. But Andre flipped the game. As his victory went viral, news anchors began calling him the hoodie lawyer, teen court assassin, and the legal avenger. Interviews poured in, but Andre stayed silent till one final move. He held a national live stream. In Chapter 4, in front of millions watching on TikTok, YouTube, and national news, Andre unveiled a database he'd compiled of 478 other teen cases like his minority kids overcharged, oversentenced, and forgotten. "This isn't just about me," he said. "This is about the broken machine that feeds on our silence. I'm not silent anymore." The country erupted in outrage. Petitions swarmed. Judges resigned. Several DAs were indicted. Congress began debating a bill called Andre's Law to require oversight in juvenile sentencing and mandatory transparency on judicial ties to for-profit prisons. But while others celebrated, Andre disappeared. Rumors spread he had joined a secret legal think tank. Others said he went abroad to fight international cyber corruption. Some even believed he'd been recruited by the CIA. But the truth? Andre returned to his roots, quietly mentoring kids from neighborhoods like his own, helping them learn the law, not just to protect themselves, but to change the system from the ground up. And every once in a while, a new teen would appear in Courtsmart, silent, underestimated only to destroy an unjust case with surgical brilliance. That's when the judge would pause, glance around nervously, and whisper, "Wait. Is that one of his?" Because now they knew. The next genius in disguise might already be sitting in the courtroom. Hoodie on, head down, waiting for justice to blink first.